think America would be a better place if we instantly lost those members of its population?
100%. Yeah, if we got rid of all illegals, yeah, suddenly the cost of housing goes down because the demand is lower. Suddenly the price that you're paid for middle and lower class wages increases because there's not this supply curve of infinite labor coming from the third world.
Size?
Like you want to talk classroom size, the pressure on our medical system, like all of these things would be alleviated immediately. And so the idea that you so you're saying like, Hutch, what I'm hearing is like, oh, we can't deport them because of this these asylum laws, this, that, and the other. But then when push comes to shove, and I say, if you could remove this issue entirely, and not in some cruel way where they're kept in cages or something, just immediately magically deported, you say no.
No. Yeah.
Okay, so you have a political vested interest in these people pouring in.
No, I think there's a middle ground here. I feel like when we're talking about violent people who commit violent crimes, I have no problem deporting these people. My heart's not gonna bleed for them. When you talk about the economic consequences of getting rid of what you guys say 10 to 20 million people that are here illegally, that will cause inflation 100%. And so when I say that people support mass deportation programs on paper, this is what I mean. So like, let's say Trump is actually successful and he deports 10 to 20 million people. And then people go to the grocery store and an avocado costs $6. I really doubt that support for mass deportation is going to stay at 54% at that point. People say that they want to value like protection, like they like protectionist economic policies like tariffs because it's going to supposedly, like cause all this like boon and domestic manufacturing. But the cost of the tariffs and the cost of this mass deportation, it will cause the price of goods and services to go up. And the MAGA theory is that people are going to value this whole made in America thing and protect our country. What
about 2018? 2018, Trump rolled out an enormous amount of tariffs, and the criticisms you're levying now are the same that happened then, where it was going to cause it was going to cause an enormous amount of inflation. Unemployment was going to be a problem, and none of that happened. What it did was actually bring a bit of manufacturing back home, and like. The problem with the tariff evaluation is Trump will say something like, "We're gonna tariff Mexico at 3,000%. We're fucking them over, folks." And then analysts or journalists or whatever, will look at that absurdly high number that he's using as a negotiation tactic, and then they will extrapolate data from the assumption that is where the baseline will be, and that's just not an accurate way to look at those situations.
Well, I'm just taking him at his word. His proposed policy was universal tariffs, like 20% on all imports coming into the country. That will cause prices to go up. And we'll see how much, like American Apparel, I think they did an experiment where they had some of their clothes that were outsourced to other countries. Those were cheaper, obviously. And then they introduced a line of clothing that was purely done made in America. Those costs were higher, and people overwhelmingly rejected the second choice.
Do you think that it's worthwhile to have like? Do you think the lower cost potentially of like American Apparel, just as an example, not that that's the extent of it, is like worthwhile in keeping like a permanent borderline slave class around to do these things? Meanwhile, these borderline slaves are doing work for free, and that's also lowering wages for Americans that would otherwise. What do you mean?
So like NAFTA, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, we have free trade agreements with many countries that don't. Yeah,
I don't like the free trade shit. That's part of what I'm saying is like, yeah, we're getting free cheap shit from
consequences of free trade. People prefer lower prices. They do.
But like, it's not worth it to maintain that so we can get cheap plastic shit that's low quality from China.
It's not worth it if you don't
Ideally,
do enough to
it would be better to have manufacturing.
So there are failures of like neoliberalism. There are failures of trade agreements that outsource manufacturing jobs and products or whatever to different countries. And then you leave these communities, especially like concentrated in Appalachia and the Midwest, like a lot of these cities became destitute because all these jobs were sent offshore. If you do a trade agreement, but you don't do anything to like remedy that suffering, then there are obviously going to be problems. And so if you're like,
that's what we're running into.
There are really good consequences of free trade. Like some countries just, they have much stronger industries when it comes to like agriculture or manufacturing or like different countries.
I don't see why we should have to settle for free trade.
Yeah. Free trade is a bad deal for us.
I feel like
free trade is the reason why the abject poverty, global poverty has.
Sorry, I've been waiting longer though.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
It's been no.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Do you want to go instead? I can take.
Fuck no.
All right. So my issue with free trade is this. It makes your country bad and uncompetitive. We've seen it already in practice in the extreme in Russia. Russia had protection. Wait, I think I said it backwards. My problem with protectionism is this. It makes your country bad and uncompetitive. When the wall fell around Russia and we finally got to see inside, they looked 40 years behind us in terms of technology. We thought Russia was our peer. And then we get there and we're like, holy fucking shit. Look at their cars. Look at their agriculture practices. Look at their manufacturing practices. Look at what communism has done to this country and how people aren't working and being the best they can be. And they didn't have to, because their employment was guaranteed and everything was locked in and they really weren't competitive with anywhere else. So they just had a shitty country that didn't produce anything good and was uncompetitive with the rest of the world, and they collapsed and they lost the Cold War. If America has protections, like to quote Taylor, 3,000% tariffs or something ridiculous like that, the same thing would happen to us. Our industries, our auto industry would get fat. Our cars would suck cock. Our agriculture would get expensive because we're protected from everyone who's competing with us. It's Japan's lean, mean manufacturing that made American cars better. It is China's tight manufacturing that makes us keep our own manufacturing as lean and mean as it has to be to compete with these people. If we start putting tariffs and protecting these companies, then they're going to be a little more profitable in the short term as they raise their prices to match the tariffed prices. And then in the long term, they're going to be outdated and shitty, because that's what happens when you protect them.
I don't know if that's like historically that's not accurate, because the highest quality the highest quality American goods came in times during very high tariffs.
What are you talking about?
Meaning that tariffs weren't enacted enormously until the 40s, or they weren't pulled back enormously until the 30s, 40s.
Tariffs, but
we had massive tariffs. Yeah, most of our we still have some tariffs, but most of our tariffs, or most of our federal budget,
there are tariffs on everything.
Yeah, most of our federal budget was supplied via tariffs prior to what was the year that we made income tax
America
a thing?
Didn't peak in 1975.
Dude, you can find a refrigerator from 1940 that is going to work longer than a Samsung you buy today. And so
those are consumer choices.
This idea that tariffs are going to ruin our economy, I don't think is accurate. Look at Germany, for example. Germany has tariffs in place where if you want to sell a Ford, if we want to sell Ford in Germany, we have to manufacture it in Germany. There has to be a plant in Germany where Germans are employed to create those cars, and then you're allowed to sell it there.
Volkswagens would be more reliable if there were fewer tariffs.
Do you not see the benefit though? And just that one simple example of
what can happen is you can tariff some more competitive country, industry, etc., to the point where your local one is propped up when it shouldn't exist, because in any fair competition, it would be put out of business. And now as an American, all you do is you buy either this shitty thing that should be put out of business because they don't do a good job, or you pay the tariffs and get it from somewhere else. When you protect someone and make it so they can't lose their job, they can't lose their customers, then they do a bad job.
We should in my view, it shouldn't be an open and fair full economy like that. We should have advantages. We're America. When we're being taken advantage of by other countries who levy tariffs against us, and we're engaging in free trade or whatever with them, that's not beneficial. And so just something as simple as if Toyota wants to sell cars here, you got to build a plant here. You got to build plants here, and you have to manufacture here. You have to employ Americans to create these cars and then sell them domestically.
They
don't do it fully.
Countries that pursue a protectionist economic policy broadly suffer. They're the ones that suffer. The ones that are engaged in free trade. And every country can do targeted tariffs. And there's different reasons why you would do targeted tariffs. If you're trying to shore up local industries, or if you're trying to punish a bad actor for some action they took as a part of a trade deficit or something like that. But if you do a broad policy of like tariffing all imports, you might that might end up with like, I don't know, some tens of thousands of new manufacturing jobs or whatever. But the consequences of that is going to be felt throughout the entire electorate.
I think the whole
prices
point
will go up. And I don't think that the MAGA theory is that people are going to take pride in American products. And, I don't care that I paid, 100% more for this product. I don't think that's going to happen.
The whole idea, I think the whole point is we can argue whether tariffs work or not. And the answer is yes and no, right? It's going to vary on every single thing. The point is it's a starting negotiation position, like I've sold a lot of cars, and the first position that I brought to the person was always a dick in the ass.
Yeah.
It was a big dick in the ass, and it was dry. And I presented it to them with fervor. I didn't say, "Oh, gee, I've got a dry dick to put in your ass here, sir. I hope you don't mind." I said, "Whoa, lucky you. Can you fucking believe it? A dry dick for your ass." And because every now and then they're like, "Oh, you promise?" And then they take the dry dick in the ass. And I think that's Trump. And when Trump says 25% across the board, and then Trudeau says something like, "That's $100 billion out of my economy. My country will collapse." And then Trump quips something about making them the 51st state in the union. He doesn't mean any of that. Funny. He means, it's a pretty dry dick for your ass if you don't do this little thing on automotive. I'd like 3% more here, and like, hey, this thing over here with the border. I think it's a negotiation position.
I agree with Kyle.
More commonly, though, countries just do retaliatory tariffs, and it's
but our dick's bigger. Our dick is bigger and drier, though. That's the whole point.
So Taylor countered my argument with something that wasn't my argument.
We chalk it.
Well, I didn't mean to address it, dishonestly.
Thank you. I'm not suggesting that we allow someone to conduct a one-sided trade war against us without retaliation, right? If they have tariffs against us, we retaliate. That's what they're going to do if we put tariffs in. Everyone understands this. But the idea that tariffs, the general concept, tariffs allow your companies to go fat, lazy, and become less competitive is as simple for anyone who studied economics as supply and demand or times tables. Like, this isn't to be debated. When I take my competitors' prices and raise them by 25%, I can either raise mine and make bigger profits or get fat and bad. And those things will happen over time. Boom.
There's a lot of misunderstanding about what tariffs are too. Like, you guys realize that American companies pay the tariffs, right? It's not like China's paying the tariff or Canada's paying the tariff.
Yeah, it's the manufacturer doing it.
Right. And then those costs get passed on to the consumer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the way
and therefore they're incentivized to change their behavior in the market. And then, but again, it's a starting position to scare countries. That's why it's 25 or 30% across the board, which is such a huge number. As the president of Canada said, prime minister, whatever the fuck his fake job is, if he's out next year, it would cripple their economy. He might as well declare war if you're going to do 25% across the board. You know what I mean?
No, we have to fight Canada. That would be so funny.
Dude, I hope Trudeau's out next.
All of Michigan.
No, they wouldn't even make it. They wouldn't make it to Detroit. We'd fuck those idiots up.
I'm just generally
shout out Canada. I'm sorry, you're not idiots. Second favorite country.
Of protectionist economic policy. Like we've seen global poverty like plummet because of free trade. And
I don't care about global poverty.
Well, we've also seen.
I would say that's more a consequence of tech, not free trade.
No, free trade definitely.
If the U.S. poverty would go down 1%, I would have the rest of the world go up 10. If it meant burning an entire nation so that we'd all have like better iPhones, I'd be for it. I am very much America first kind of guy.
More about the iPhone.
Dude, no, Kyle's 1,000,000% right on this. Couldn't agree more.
How long will my battery last?
Oh, that's the thing, Woody. It's powered by your heartbeat. Okay, you open your hand and the phone is just it comes out of your skin like some Spider-Man. You're gonna love it.
It's a two-way street though, because the trade agreements that we enter into result in lower costs for consumers, which is.
Can you say that again, Hutch? I tuned in the middle.
The free trade agreements that we enter into, like TPP or NAFTA, they result in lower costs for American consumers. So, for example, 2 out of 3 tomatoes that Americans consume and come from Mexico. Like, if all of a sudden if he actually followed through on this tariff, and like, let's say he doesn't do a opening position or whatever, let's say he actually follows through, that is going to cost, like, the cost of like vegetables, like agriculture is going to skyrocket. And at that point, we're going to see if the MAGA theory is correct. If it happens, that Americans are going to be happy to pay these higher prices. I don't think they will. I think if you give people the option of spending less on goods, 99 out of 100 people are going to say, yeah, I'd rather spend $3 instead of $5.
I only buy
or at least that's what they're going to do. Right. I believe 50-50 will say it. 99 out of 100 will
exactly.
Do it.
Yeah.
What I believe is that that's the beauty of this.
Like,
That's the beauty of this presidency. It doesn't fucking matter what the electorate thinks. And he knows it. This is it. There's no next term. He doesn't care about your thoughts and concerns, your poll numbers. He doesn't care about his approval rating. What he cares about, he might care about a legacy, but what he probably cares about is getting fucking even after the nonsense that he went through over the past year. Let's hope he cares more about legacy than getting even, because it's either or for him at this point, and he can go as far as he wants in either direction. I wouldn't say he's a lame duck president. I would say he's got nothing to lose, that he can make big decisions. Remember when Obama was whispering to the Russian ambassador, hey, tell your boss, I'll have more wiggle room after the election. And they caught him on audio and they played it. That won't be happening because there is no next time.
That's not collusion with a foreign leader. It's different.
No, that's different. That's different.
Yeah.
However, I didn't think the 25% tariffs on Canada because of the 43 pounds of fentanyl that come over was well thought out either.
Oh, see, the fentanyl part is a spin job, though. Like the fentanyl wasn't even mentioned in regards to Canada until Canada instituted retaliatory tariffs, and then they sent out that mouthpiece to the news media, and he was like, Canada seems to be confused and thinking they're in a tariff war or something. No, this is a war on drugs. It was a message that was typed up, sent out, and like, we're going to pivot now, and we're going to say it's about drugs with Canada, when really it's about Canada not paying into their share of their NATO spending from GDP.
I think it's a
Canada
spin.
not.
I don't think so, Kyle. I think that they mentioned the drug thing because they can only implement these tariffs in an emergency situation. So they invented a fake emergency so that they could implement these tariffs. And it's really a trade war that they're trying to start. And the tariffs are an excuse and a lie so that they can, act like there's an urgent need for these. Did I say tariffs? The fentanyl is an excuse, a lie, so that they act like there's an urgent need for the tariffs.
Sure. That's what I said. I thought.
It's just the trade equivalent of the Trump pull-in handshake, because like he's done it 3 times now with Colombia, Canada, Mexico, and all 3 times they've capitulated probably within 24 hours.
Wait, Canada and Mexico didn't capitulate?
They both put out statements. They both put out they're putting a certain amount of people at the border. They're doing all sorts of like.
Are you not up to speed? Like Mexico had 15,000 people on the border, and they agreed to 10,000. That's not a capitulation.
Canada, is it an additional 10,000?
No, it's not an additional. It's just a lower bar for what
degree of certainty on that.
100%. I'm positive of this. Yeah, and Canada,
I might be behind.
Canada announced the things that they agreed to back in November. Right? Back when Biden was president, they agreed to the spending, which was like 1.3 billion or something like that. The thing Canada did do is at appoint a fentanyl czar, which I think we all know is just a silly little position.
You gave somebody a job?
Right?
Trump creating jobs.
Some teenage kid is now the fentanyl czar who works for minimum wage in Canada. The fentanyl czar, there might be other new things, but the troops, the expensive spending stuff was already agreed to by both Canada and Mexico. He didn't get anything new. So the left is having a blast with this he got rolled thing. The right is saying it's not over. And maybe
I'll tell you where they're not.
Yeah, what were the Mexican troops doing under Biden? Because it was like record crossings. Like, were they doing anything? Were they just like playing Clash of Clans on their phone? Like, not even watching the border? Like, we need time.
You're asking me what the Mexican troops were
like.
I don't know what to tell you. I can just tell you 15,000 there.
Yeah, but like,
hopefully 15,000 going forward.
Hopefully, I mean, we'll be able to tell 6 months from now. We'll be able to look and see the amount of fentanyl coming over the border from Mexico, and tell whether or not something worked.
I've quoted the 43-pound number like a dozen times. My confidence in that, I can tell you it's the number everyone's using. I don't know how good my sources are, though. How do we know how much fentanyl went through?
There's no way to know. You only know what you catch. Yeah.
Really? The flow is the other way, though. The flow is the other way.
Yeah,
China sends the raw ingredients into Mexico and other South American countries. It's cooked there, then it's smuggled into the U.S., and then because it's in the U.S., it goes up to Canada. It doesn't come in the other way nearly as much. If it is, it's a completely differently sourced source of fentanyl. If you think about it, they did find a lab in Canada. What you know, It's a Mexican lab in Canada. The Mexicans are like, well, those greedy Americans are taking too much. Let's build our own lab right where the Canadians are, and we'll get it right to the source.
These guys love fentanyl.
It's the Mexicans are the
they
problem.
Can't get enough of it.
And so I look forward to the idea of special forces being used to take on the cartel, because that to me is exactly what the special forces should be. Sometimes I worry that they're like kicking in some Haji's house that's like a fucking Euro vendor or something, and just like send him to a black site. I know that's happened. But I know if they go down to Mexico,
decades of that in recent memory, I don't think so.
No, not decades and decades and decades of that. No,
not $2 trillion worth of that.
Oh man, those black sites are so scary, Taylor. We create these little hells in little countries across the planet, and we throw people into them, and sometimes we forget.
I mean, or we don't forget. We just pretend to, and we know you're rotting in some Lebanese
bureaucracy
site.
Imagine the bureaucracy of a secret organization. Like how hard it is to keep track of. Wait, was that Abdul Patan or Abdul Poatan?
It's a real shame we can't write any of this down to keep secrets.
Oh yeah, dude. If these are the same government employees doing the DMV, those guys are stuck forever. Like to wrap the tariff thing up, because I don't think anything new has happened there. Something that I do find a little amusing is like seeing like Canadian, and I love our neighbors to the north, hockey fans all. Great guys, but seeing like Canadian journalists be like, you don't understand the wrath that you've unlocked. And it's like, you need us so much more than we need you. Not to be a douchebag here, but your country exists at our pleasure. And so stop pretending that you're like, we need to find new markets for our stuff potentially. We have the whole world to look. You need to find a replacement market for the largest consumer market that's ever existed and likely to exist in global history. Where are you going to go? Madagascar, Russia? Like, they need us. And so like I don't, just because Trump didn't get like what he wanted out of these, which I still have difficulty seeing exactly what he wanted, similar to Woody, but like, the idea that we can't lean on countries economically to get what we want is farcical. Like we can dominate any country on earth economically. I think
an important distinction here to make is that Trump didn't say, okay, forget the whole thing, no more tariffs. He said, you got 30 days to negotiate something that sounds good to me. That's the situation we're in. Trump didn't necessarily capitulate. So I see the people on the right, I'm on Reddit a lot. I see the people on the right side of Reddit being like, aha, look at this, promises made, promises kept, big stick diplomacy. And I'm like, hang on, I don't know if we won yet. And then I see the people on the left, fucking losers are lying, saying they already won and they didn't. And I'm like, not all of us, hang on, I'm still watching, I'm waiting.
Not all of us is my mantra. When everyone hates the left, I'm like, well, I don't fit that class of person that you hate so much.
Yeah. Here's what's happening, in my opinion. Trump has seen that this tariff thing is going to be like many of the things he's discussed, where they shit on him for months and months, and then it actually works, and now they're embarrassed that it's going to work, because he doesn't want trade wars. He wants to exert pressure on companies to negotiate on X or Y program or what have you, and it's working because I mean, that El Salvadorian president offering to take our prisoners and put them in his supermax, that's scary. That's awesome, though. And then Colombia obviously agreeing to take their people back, whether in their chains or whatever, he's taking his people back. And I look forward to seeing like something happen with Canada, because I do not like their defense spending. That's my only complaint about Canada, is they're incapable of defending themselves. And if we do have a real war, then we can't count on them for anything other than maybe manpower. We'd have to fucking ship them over to the war. They can't get there themselves. You know what I mean? It'd be that kind of thing.
You don't have ships?
Come on, Taylor.
They don't have a couple ships?
I'm not confident that the Canadians could put any... Remember, like every time we have a war, when all of a sudden we have 500,000 human beings on the other side of the planet in like a week. I just don't think they can do that. You know what I mean? We sent I think it's like 10 million Americans. I think we like back and forth 10 million Americans to Nam. You know what I mean? Like we move things to fight that war on the other side of the planet.
Dude, it's like we're using cheats. We're so far ahead.
What do you think of
with the tariffs? Like a specific example is I think Trump put tariffs on washing machines or something like that. On these Chinese washing machines that were coming over, they're really cheap. And so all of a sudden now it costs 25% more, 30% more to buy that Chinese washing machine. Its cost went up. And you would think that now the American washing machines would be the cheaper, better value. But what happened was the Americans all just raised their prices too. so that they were even with what the Chinese were selling theirs at. And what you know, the dryer prices went up too.
I was going to say that. I'm glad I showed up.
This tariff that had the best of intentions, and on the surface it seemed like it was going to work well, just caused this chain reaction, because economics is a complicated business, and it's not boiled down to X's and O's necessarily. Sometimes there's flowcharts.
Although I will say, like, it falls right in line with as much as like the tariff thing has been very interesting. I always consider government the black thumb of industry. It's like no matter what it touches, it turns to shit. Like every fucking time the government gets involved in something, there's an equal and usually greater reaction that sucks.
Yeah, I'm not a tariff guy. I don't like them. I think that when you protect an industry, that industry goes weak and fat and bad and becomes what Russia became when the Iron Curtain fell, just decades behind and uncompetitive. That's what protecting industries does to them. So it's not really a Trump thing. I would have been against anybody's tariffs.
I think it needs a balance, though, because there's also the issue of, like, if you allow free trade where we don't tariff ever, you now prevent American manufacturing from ever even being able to compete with foreign manufacturing. Like, there's no incentive for an American manufacturer of washers and dryers to even enter the market or try that, because they know we straight up can't compete with slaves in China making this. And so it suppresses ingenuity in a different way. Washers and dryers was just the example, but like,
or forces it,
apply to anything.
Right? American industry needs to be more automated than China, right? Like there was a time when America needed a basement, we used an excavator. When China needed a basement, they used 100 dudes with shovels. And that's how we remained competitive in that environment. There should be almost zero touch washing machine manufacturing if we want to compete, and they can be better and cheaper.
Like, I do like protectionism sometimes for our laborers, because forcing like American middle class and lower class workers to compete with the global wage standard in whatever industry they have, like, we're going to lose, and those people are going to get shit pay, and they're not getting shit pay in some Chinese village. They're getting shit pay in Cleveland. Like, they can't afford a good standard of living. And so it is a balance. Like, we don't want to be taken advantage of. But I do see the chain.
I hear your point. Like, with globalization comes a global leveling or sameness of the standard of living across every country. And as the country that has one of the top standards of living, it's like, shit, we don't want to like take us in Nigeria and meet in the middle. Like, that kind of sucks for America, right? So I get that point. On the other hand, like, I don't have a good way to combat it. Just that, like, you need to be better if you want more. You can't protect America to make them strong. Protecting someone makes them weak.
I think there's kind of an issue right now with the made in America stuff, with where our standards are. This is the one thing that really bothers the hell out of me, to be honest. Even in the firearms industry, but outside of it, where like you have pretty much anybody that manufactures anything, they have a standard that they're held to, where like if you're importing something, but the last 10% of the manufacturing process is American, you can say made in America. And it sucks because you have like 90% of products being made in Mexico, Canada, Korea, Taiwan, wherever. But if you put a little, rubber wrap on it, suddenly it's made in the USA and people can market it that way. And I think that really fucks the guys who are actually spending the money and investing in American jobs. That, it's the same. It's the same thing marketing wise, but it's really fucking not. It's a lie.
Right. And we need another designation, like assembled in America.
Some people do that.
Yeah, they'll put little bullshit things on there, like assembled in America, exactly that.
Yeah, it wouldn't take too long for people to know that there's a difference between made and assembled.
Parts are made right across the border in Mexico. There are truckers who all day long, all they do is drive from a factory that's 3 miles from the border across the border to our like storage facility and then back. That's their route, back and forth, just getting it.
I bet they're Mexican truckers.
They are Mexican. But they're being tariffed right now, so it's become more expensive to get those parts in. So it helps.
So like a goal of tariffs in that instance would be like, okay, if it's now economically tenable for Ford to open that shop, that giant facility in Austin instead of in Tijuana, then that's a good thing. That means Americans are going to be working. It's like, I think it's Germany, that if you want to sell a Ford in Germany, you have to build it in Germany. And so Ford has manufacturing plants in Germany that employ Germans who get paid a wage in Germany. Like that's that's good. Like the whole just nothing but free trade thing, because the rest of the world doesn't do this. The rest of the world takes advantage of this. Like Norway, I saw as a good example. Look up Norway's tariffs, over the top high, because they want to protect their own industry at home.
To a certain degree, you're fighting with one arm behind your back.
Exactly. Like it's and it's the American worker who pays the price for it by having like lower wage positions offered to them. And so it's definitely a mixed bag.
That's a good point. And for the record, not that anyone cares what I think, but I do like retaliatory tariffs. Like you can't tariff us and then us be like, well, we want to stay strong. Like, no, heck you.
I'll make it easy for you, Kyle. DC mayor vetoed a bill in Washington, D.C. That would make the minimum wage $12.25 or something like that, above $10 an hour for big box store workers.
I'm going to get me a big box store job. $12.25 around here is like high paying job.
I don't know enough about the economics to go along with those decisions to have a well-formed opinion about that. I just don't know. In my heart, there's a cold part of my Scrooge McDuck self that wants to say, let the market decide what the wage is. If they'll work for $5, then let them work.
The market also bred child labor and robber barons.
Hey, everybody needs
and
a
all
job,
that bad shit.
Lefties against letting children work, ladies and gentlemen. Lefties against children expressing their artistic and intellectual prowess at an early age. That's all I'm saying.
I don't want them in the coal mines. I'm such a bastard.
Not the coal mines. In other jobs where their tiny fingers and bendy arms will come to our aid. In the aeronautics industry,
making Nike shoes, maybe.
Assembling turbines.
Let me weigh in on this. I know you said big box stores, but I owned a restaurant for a little while. It was Joanne's Kitchen, and if I had to pay $12.50 an hour, I would have been out of business in the first week.
Yep. There are probably a lot of businesses that can't afford to pay all of their workers a living wage, and you know what?
I have a question.
Those businesses probably shouldn't be in business.
Yeah, I understand that, but at the same time, it's food costs. Your food cost is so high, and people's expectations of what food should cost is so low. Like if you had to pay $12.50, that same meal you'll get for $3.99 theoretically has to be somewhere along the lines of $5.50 now.
Yeah, and consumers will have to pay more, and it's going to hurt. People are going to hurt. People are going to hurt. Yes, but people need a living wage.
Inflating the minimum wage for medial jobs. All it does is hurt the economy and make everything get more expensive. What you really should do is you should find the balance and basically assign what a job is worth, just almost like a car plant.
That sounds like
Woody, tell us what's right. Tell us what's right, Woody. Lead us from this darkness.
What's wrong with it, Kyle? Instead of just insulting me.
No, I'm not insulting you. I don't know the answer to this question. I genuinely don't. What I was saying earlier is part of me wants to let the market decide. Part of me wants to say if they'll work for $5, then let them work. But another part of me can do the fucking math and see that a working couple, working family, both working full-time jobs, and they don't make enough money to even cover the fucking child care, much less raise a family. So that doesn't work.
Right. So typically when you enforce regulations on how much people pay, or like if you put a similar kind of regulation might be a tariff, right? Let's say that I'm a USA company and you're a Chilean company. So I just make your stuff $1,000 more expensive than mine. Poof. Now I can compete with you. Now we can pay our people more. But you get weird things and you get inefficient economies when the government starts determining how much people should earn or determining how much a product should cost. And overall, when you have these regulations on the economy, they hold the planet back from their advancement. Right? That's the general school of thought in economics when these things happen. If we just throw a tariff on all Japanese cars to make them more expensive so American cars can compete, then in the long run, American cars aren't going to be as good as they would otherwise be if we made them compete on a neutral setting. That's the one argument. The other, like you said, I mean, gosh, that child labor comes from things like this. Acts of cruelty in the marketplace come from things like this. You almost need a union force to sort of counteract the management force, or they take advantage of the workers. They have all the power, they have all the money, and they beat this stuff down so hard. But if you work out a third hand, if you don't let American companies do that, then African companies surely will, and they'll be happy to produce things cheap, or there's places in Southeast Asia that will do it. So, it's like the answer, I think, is in some kind of moderation, and I don't know where that is. I don't think $12 on big box stores is a good thing. It seems like a really high minimum wage, and it's applied only to what? Walmarts and
there was. I imagine Home Depots and Walmarts.
Yeah, it was some like 75. If the store was 75,000 square feet and met some minimum number of workers, I think
it seems almost punitive. Look, you guys are so successful. We're going to start putting the brakes on you. And I don't like it. I mean, I like the idea of people earning living wages and stuff, but it's too heavy-handed. They've gone too far with that one. I'd have vetoed it as well.
Yeah, and that's a good moderate, rational and it's an ebb and flow. Like it's a whole lot more complicated, the economy and economics and stuff. But we were talking with it about, or in a similar vein, talking about PC versus console gaming. Depending on what you want, depending on what the answer is, there's a give and take for any given course. Whether you want to err more towards the free market, you're going to put more power into the hands of people that are already at the top of the free market and rich, and people that are receiving big government welfare like the banks and big corporations and stuff. But if you err more on the side of, the middle and lower class and raising minimum wage and all this stuff, then you put a lot of pressure on inflation, and you do a bunch of the things that Woody was talking about. And
global, right? And so everything is global now. If I say, all right, let's say it's not a big box store, but it's a manufacturing outfit. And I said, you make mufflers. All of a sudden, everyone that works there has to earn $15 an hour. How is that company going to compete with another muffler company that manufactures their stuff in Mexico, where people work for significantly less than $15 an hour?
I think we should tariff all those imported goods.
Yeah, and then you got to look at the importance of the job. What if the guy sweeping the floor at the muffler shop, does he have to make $15 an hour?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think I talked a couple PKAs ago about the women's rights in the workplace. Like, we had a client that built railroads, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, everything in building a railroad is freaking heavy, super heavy. Even like a 5-gallon pail filled with railroad ties is too heavy for most women to carry. The rails, those things, the rail itself, like one of those. So when you assign people to a railroad task, you always do it in even numbers, because everything's so heavy, everything has to be carried by 2 men. And the only jobs the women could do in railroad construction was pretty much flag woman. And, when they came around and got audited by the state for not hiring enough women, they're like, what do we do? This shit's heavy.
There are no women who can handle the task.
You obviously took a Craigslist out ad asking for gladiators.
I can just imagine the scenario. Can anyone carry the bucket of cross ties? And like one woman steps forward and does it.
Her name's Big Jane.
There's always that counter argument, right? I mean, there's going to be some woman out there who's stronger than I am, but if you're looking for equality in the workplace, they're difficult to find.
Yeah, whenever you're doing a physically demanding job, you want to be matched up with someone of equal or greater strength. You never want to be like the strong guy who gets the heavy end. That's bullshit. No.
On a related note, I remember how proud I was when I transformed into that guy carrying stuff with my dad, right? Like, my dad now, he's like 65 years old. So if we carry something heavy, I grab the hard end. At some point in my life, like, I don't know, I was in my mid-20s or something, and it was like, yeah, I'll take this side. I got this, Dad. I'm not saying you can't, but look, it should be me.
My back's a little younger.
Yeah, I'm just saying, why don't you let me handle this? And he's like, I think you're right. That side should be you.
Mm-hmm. It might be that just capitalism beats communism, and it was going to happen.
Yeah, I think that Reagan, to the most, like, I don't know enough about it. I think that it was more that he was just happened to be in office when it did happen, because our economy was, I looked up some stat that, like, at the point where the Soviet Union, dissolved, the U.S., like, gross national product, gross domestic product, whatever, our production capabilities weren't like twice as much, weren't 5 times as much. It was like 50 or 60 times as much. Like, it was obscene
how much the U.S. could produce faster, better, more efficiently than Russia in the same time with the same resources, which we just had more of. Like, it just, I don't know. Maybe Bush could have been in again at that same time, like H.W. Bush, if he'd been elected instead, I guess juxtaposed earlier. And maybe he would be getting credit for it. I don't know. Or on the other hand, maybe there's a conservative out there who knows about some policy or something that Reagan did that collapsed him. Is that
difference you were alive in hammers? You know, if I'm back to Civ talk, like that's one of the arguments against tariffs, right? So right now Trump has a strong interest in like protecting American jobs by, you know, saying not competing with the rest of the world in some manufacturing. If you do that, then the risk you run is the risk that Russia ran and just becoming uncompetitive. I don't have an answer because obviously American jobs are flowing outward and you want to do something. If there's going to be a global standard of living leveling, then you want to combat that some way if you already have a better standard of living. It's not a problem that I know how to solve. I think it's inevitable. But I don't know, somehow it's just like, yeah, you know, oh, you want to drop big tariffs on stuff that comes in from Mexico to protect American manufacturing? Then I promise you, American manufacturing, like if there's a 30% tariff, will just be 30% worse until water finds its level.
Oh, yeah. And that's not even that's not a conservative position at all that he's doing with his tariffs and his trade agreements. Like, I think that isn't that in large part, correct me if I'm wrong, like part of the reason that our car manufacturing turned to shit is because we were like, hey, big tariffs if you import a Suzuki or whatever the hell, and you know, Detroit, you know, you're fine, keep making whatever the hell you're doing. And over time, our quality in cars became just embarrassingly worse than cars made in Korea or Japan, to the point that it's just now that you're seeing commercials, like in the past few years, where it's like, hey, Ford, not total shit, it's pretty good. Look at the commercials, like all like the Mitsubishi, whatever. They're like, you know, top class running 6 years in a row, Lexus, #1 luxury car on earth. And then it's like, Ford, can you believe it? It's third best, second year running. You said we couldn't do it. We almost did. Fuck and that's what I feel like when I watch American truck commercials. It's just they're begging you to be like, just come on, like they're pretty good. Like they're pretty good. Like we're working hard.
In trucks, I think we're the leader.
Yeah. In fairness, Ford has really stepped it up. Ford cars are pretty nice now.
I saw a Reddit question where someone said, hey, for those of you that buy trucks that aren't Ford, why? And I was like, so I like the Chevys. I really like the look of the Dodges, but every time I look into like the details, it's like, yeah, this is just a mistake, I think. Wings of Redemption said, like, I see people that buy Chrysler products, and I ask them, are you retarded? It's so Wings. But I look and it's like Ford is the one that went to like the turbocharged 6-cylinder. Like they you know, broke a glass ceiling of some sort. They tried something new, and now if you keep your foot off the throttle, it gets really good fuel economy. They went to the aluminum bodies, which are pretty good. It's lighter. They increase the payload because you can put more stuff in it because it's not weighed down by its own body. Like, I just like, man, if I had to buy a truck now, Ford would just be it would start off in first place. Someone would have to teach me something I didn't think of.
Those aluminum bodies are really expensive to fix, though.
Yep.
Like, if anything does happen wrong, like, I think it's much better
insurance,
to have.
Though. You know, your insurance just has to pay more.
Yeah.
It's funny. Kyle said, that's insurance, though. I was like, but you don't fix trucks.
I was just meaning like on... I know there's that bullshit commercial they have out there where it's like, hey, this is the Ford with its aluminum truck lining bed, and this is the Chevy with the hardened, you know, steel, adamantium, and they throw that big toolbox in a way that no one ever would. Like,
did you know the toolbox broke the steel bed?
Fucking thing. Yeah, and they're like, look at that, bounced right off the steel. Look at that, punctured right through the aluminum, and all the, you know, gullible rubes standing around the truck bed are like, yeah, that's certainly how I handle my tools.
But they'll show you like putting a load of rocks in there, and it's a front-end loader dumping it from height.
No, it didn't. It put a little dent in the Chevy. There was an actual puncture hole in the Ford. But the thing is, neither one of them had actual truck liners in it.
I saw a YouTube video that did careful analysis of that, and they pushed the toolbox off the side of the bed rail, and it punctured a hole in the Chevy. And then you can tell, like, the one they show from a different angle is a different drop, and they don't show the puncture hole in it. People went CSI on that fucking video, and it punctured the Chevy's bed as well. And the bed is not hardened, or maybe the bottom of it is hardened steel and the sides are not. I don't want to I want to get the facts wrong, but I did see the puncture. Like there's a frame from the cab angle where you can see the puncture hole in the Chevy.
That's it. So the only experience I've got with that is I put a ball in the bed of a truck, and you got to cut through the bed. And I used a reciprocating saw, and it was fucking hard. That was some legit steel I cut through. It wasn't sheet metal. It was it's fucking it didn't want to cut fast.
I really abused the bed of my truck. Almost like remember how Taylor was like, and no one ever throws a toolbox in. Dude, I have so my truck is high and the hitch pin goes in the bumper. Usually it's under the bumper. So I've got this big adapter unit where it comes down and across. Mm-hmm. I will throw that in my bed from 7 feet away because I have a plastic bed liner, and those things are impossible. There's Rhino liner, which is strong, and then there's plastic bed liner, which is ridiculous. You could drop a load of bricks from 6 feet in the air, and it the plastic just sort of temporarily deforms.
Super tough.
Yeah. So I wonder, I don't know if I'd like a Rhino liner. The plastic has certain upsides. You can't over abuse it, and the slippery is an up and downside. Okay, so you put a piece of plywood in your bed. On the plastic, it'll kind of slide in and out unharmed. On that gritty, 40 grit Rhino liner, bed liner, I guess you have to have something protective under the thing that you don't want scratched up. I guess.
I guess so.
So anyway, I don't know. I don't feel like buying a truck right now. I was like, wow, it's late November-ish right now. Come next year, my truck will be 14 years old. That's a thing, right? Add another year to that. Gets that much more prestigious.
Yep, 4 more years and it's legal.
If you think I haven't hit that tailpipe yet, you're sorely mistaken.
I bet Kyle has a plethora, just another folder of porn of truck fucking.
Truck fuckers. Really? What?
How the hell is Biden the best? Man, it's just crazy how bad the Democrats are fucking this up. It's Biden's, even if he was really successful and got elected, are they just going in with the assumption he's a one-termer, and then they're going to try and hand it off to they have to. Can you imagine how insane he's going to be in 4 years and 10 months? He's already losing it.
His VP pick's in an interesting spot. Typically, after someone's second term, they're not popular anymore. I can't think of a president that ended their second term on much of a high note. People kind of like Obama in retrospect, but his star was fading. Bush was absolutely hated. Even Fox News dogged on Bush. Reagan wasn't so loved. They turned that around post-presidency. Second term is ugly for every president. There won't be a second Biden term. There just can't be.
He'll probably die.
He's promised to have a female vice president.
I hate that.
Which I hate it too, because he could have picked Michelle Obama as his running mate, but now he's painted himself into a corner.
So funny. No, I hate that he just he didn't say he's picking. He didn't say he's picking the best candidate. He said he's picking a girl, and I'm like, so can you at least fucking pretend that the best candidate was a woman and not you just pick the best among the women? That was my frustration.
It's just a pander fest.
Yeah,
that's all that it is. It's embarrassing.
Yeah,
it's why can't a woman be president? It's
that's not.
I mean, they didn't seem to be very popular among everybody who was voting, so that might be a good reason. Warren was just a foil to siphon away more establishment enjoying potential Bernie supporters. And she was the most popular of them. Kamala Harris was very hateable from day one. It's you are kind of black, I guess, but you still seem like you're doing that Hillary Clinton thing where you're like, I keep hot sauce in my pocket and I keep security close when speaking to people like you. And it's you think this is working with me? Is it? Remember that embarrassing clip?
Oh, yeah.
And Kamala somehow seemed to be just as embarrassing. So, yeah, not just as embarrassing, just as unlikable. But
as long as it's not Elizabeth Warren. I despise Elizabeth Warren.
I didn't see why Elizabeth Warren was so unlikable. Kamala, I never warmed up to. And I wouldn't be surprised if she was the VP pick.
Yeah,
I think Warren was.
You should find some of those montages on YouTube of Warren and see some of the dog shit, crazy nonsense that she has spouted before.
I think she's kind of faded a bit.
Way too. She's so liberal. She's so far left. Like I think she's more left than Bernie. It's nuts.
I don't know.
Maybe not economically, but socially, she's ridiculous.
I mean, Bernie was only like a big left-leaning socially guy on things like immigration, like in the last 10 years. Because
I mean, he's not a Democrat.
No, he's an independent. Yeah.
Wait, Bernie changed his position in the last 10 years?
Democratic socialist.
Well, and stuff like immigration, like he used to kind of do the more, I guess, tenable position where it's like, we are the richest country in the world. We can afford healthcare for all. We just need to lower immigration and make sure the borders are sealed. Take care of like that kind of more because it's like left-wing populism. Right. And then now, like it's like all that same stuff. Don't watch old speeches. We can do it with more open borders as well and high levels of immigration. It's
Trump
like
locked the borders down.
Obviously doesn't work.
Did you see that?
Why haven't we done this before? There's a global pandemic.
Well, he stopped all immigration.
Yeah, we have a global pandemic. You want me to stay at home, but we're bringing people in the country?
Difference between there's a difference between travel and immigration. Travel's already been stopped. He stopped all immigration. No one is coming in.
Yeah, good. We got to get this shit under control.
Well, I mean, if you want to get things under control, maybe tell the governor of Georgia that we're not quite done yet.
Yeah.
You've seen the protesters, right? Protesting to like liberate their states and free them, like just screaming in the streets.
I don't care what your
protesters feel about locking down immigration. I wonder if the protesters are like, you know what? I've got to get my hair cut and we should stop immigration. Like, simultaneously.
All right, Karen.
Right? Yeah. That's what they are. It's the Karens out protesting, playing both sides of the coin.
Yeah. I mean, you can be empathetic to people because like there is this like steely cold take you're getting from some people that are inevitably multi-millionaire blue checks on Twitter who are actors, comedians, whatever, being like, stay the fuck home, idiot. Do you not know how dangerous this is? You fucking retard.
Every commercial on YouTube
stay home. And it's like, dude, you're worth $30 million. You're sitting on piles of money. You don't have an actual worry. Some dude who was working paycheck to paycheck with 2 kids, who was, some non-essential worker, and now he can't work. Yeah, he does need to stay home in the end as much as he can to try and keep it down. But like, these people don't have the option. Like, I do empathize a lot with the people who are saying, like, we do have to kind of try and open this up some. You can acknowledge both of those without being like a full force retard on one side where, I don't know. It's just like a virtue signaling thing where it's like, oh, really, Patton Oswalt? Really? Like you're the guy to call?
Migrant workers pick most of our crops, especially in Southern California. And are we going
to have to hire citizens and pay them higher wages?
You see if you could find some citizens who want a job working.
Really, they did it up until the 60s when we had a bunch of workers who would work.
Are we going back to 1950s work ethic for everyone?
We should. Like high levels of immigration have done nothing but increase GDP all in the top 1%. It hasn't helped day-to-day people at all. It only suppresses wages. This is known.
Let's adjust the wages according to inflation since 1950, and I'm sure everybody will be out there picking oranges for $25 an hour.
Well, if we didn't allow a bunch of low-cost immigration, that's what we'd be doing right now.
Also, we'd have to stop any oranges from coming in from any other country on the planet. No,
you wouldn't. You would have to tariff them.
Oh, so this is really coming down to just a nation state now, just on an island. I think you're going to have some kind of global economy because they're going to start tariffing.
Who's winning our relationship between us and China right now?
Well, we have more relationships than just us and China, right?
I'm just using a simple example. The fact that they've been blasting us in the ass, as Mac would say, with tariffs for decades, and we've just been sitting over here like, well, we lose every relationship we're in because of free trade, but we love the free market. Like, no, how about we have a little bit of economic protectionism for the people living in our country? It's not fair.
You know what I think would actually happen? Look, I don't know shit about farms, but I think that if we didn't have cheap labor, we'd get more automation, and that's how the American farmers would stay competitive.
I think that there are some jobs that, I think that would crush all the small farmers, and I think you would end up with big commercial operations that could afford the multi-million-dollar pieces of equipment plus upkeep to operate and do those things. And I think that there are, and I couldn't name them off the top of my head, but I know I've heard in the past that there are some jobs that a machine just doesn't do right. Like I don't remember what it was. Like maybe it's grapes or something. Like no, there's no machine that can pick a grape without fucking it up. You know, we need Javier out there fucking gently caressing these grapes.
Massaging the grapes off the tree.
Yeah, there's certain things that you need a person to go do.
So I hear that argument. They said that about sewing. And I was like, sewing? Why? But I guess fabric manipulation and making sure it's not folded and, you know, the right amount of tension. It's just a thing that humans do really well. But fast forward a little bit, and machines do it really well too. I think that really it was like there wasn't an impetus because the planet has a ton of really inexpensive seamstresses, so they didn't automate sewing. Raise the prices on those women, typically women, and all of a sudden they automate sewing. I know, Kyle, the grape thing was just a hypothetical, but I have this idea that the software and the lasers or whatever electronic eyes it takes to pick a grape well will get invented if grape picking gets a little more expensive.
Yeah, I don't remember what crops there are certain crops for sure that they're like, there's not a machine that exists that does this. Well, there is. Maybe? His name is Paco, and he works for $1.50 an hour.
Yeah,
plus all the grapes he wants.
That's included in the benefit column.
I like the idea that there are no grapes included, and this guy's just swimming in grapes and can't have one.
Oh, my wife, I must tell you the job I secured today for us.
Dude, grapes have become my pandemic snack.
You've taken 6 shits today. No more grapes.
I've been eating grapes all the time. I love grapes. They're a tasty snack. They're probably just little sugar cubes, but in my mind anyway, I think of them as a healthy snack. And one day on stream, I went downstairs to get grapes because I thought I had seen them in the dark. And I come down and the package that I thought was grapes were actually cherry tomatoes. But my wife had just made milk and cookies. So I came back with those. My stream fat shamed me hard. They're just hundreds of people. Give me those push-ups, Woody. Work this shit off.
I promise. There were no grapes.
There weren't. Oh, there were grapes. They were in the other house. They didn't like that excuse at all. Like, that's
not a good way to win over the public.
No,
it was in my other state.
Yeah, I asked my wife about the grapes. She said they were in the guest house, and like I'm live streaming, right? And I don't want to put shoes on. We have a gravel driveway that leads to the other house, and like I'd be gone for 5 minutes, maybe less. And
okay, so
go ahead.
Tomatoes for sure
tomatoes?
have to be harvested by hand because they get bruised, and nobody will buy a bruised tomato. And a bunch of the berries apparently also
the
for
good
similar
berries
reasons. For the way that they pull away from the plant, you have to like snap the stem or something on each cluster. Vanilla, saffron, cacao. And a bunch of other shit. There's just some stuff.
Saffron's so expensive. Have you ever seen that at the store?
What is
where
it?
It's like a little tiny. It's a spice, little sprig of it.
It's these little hairs in there. It looks like you shaved your beard and threw like a pinch of it in a bottle, and it's $8.
My wife
it does not look expensive.
She goes to a spice shop. She has a spice guy, and he recommends spices to her. And she comes back with like this much stuff, right? Less than half a human head worth of things. And it's like $500.
Jesus
and I'm just like, oh my God. Like
Jesus.
I could just
Louises.
I could have plain George Foreman chicken and keep the $500. I'm over here with a broken iPhone.
Dude,
most
spices are $2 or $3 an ounce.
0.18 ounces of saffron. That's going to cost you $27.
Yeah.
And that is for
that's it on the bottom, though. Those little red strands.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what it goes on it. Indian food, right?
Yeah. I know I've used it before, and I would guess it was when I was making Indian food. So you need a lot of weird spices, garam masala, cardamom pods. There's a lot of stuff that goes into Indian food that is kind of foreign to us. A lot of different kinds of chilies.
Indian food I can't do too often.
Why?
I don't know. It's not one of the foods I like a lot. Like Chinese food, Japanese food, I can do that every day.
You like vindaloo?
I do like that. Yeah, it's good.
Vindaloo's really easy. It's vinegar based instead of cream based, so it's a little better for you too.
Every once in a while, I get Indian food at a restaurant, and it's all so caloric. Like, chicken just drowning in some sort of butter sauce that you use I think it's naan bread, but use some sort of use a carb as a shovel to get the butter sauce chicken into your mouth and have some rice with that. And at the end, you're just like, I know I had 2,000 calories.
Dude, China is about to eat our lunch. And they have been for the last 30 years. Like all those trade agreements.
They're on the way down.
All those trade agreements did was funnel money into China from us on bad agreements.
What trade agreements?
The one that Clinton signed. What was it, NAFTA? Right?
That wouldn't be China, though. That was just the North American Free Trade Agreement.
What was the one he signed with China? Because we've been losing money to China for fucking ever.
On Clinton, I don't know. Obama tried to do one with everybody but China, the Trans-Pacific Partnership or something like that. And basically what that was like America and then like all these other countries that weren't China. And it was going to hopefully give us this like power around China because we were trade partners with all the people that were important to China. But Trump came in and said, fuck that. Don't know if he's right or wrong. It's complicated. But then Trump started putting tariffs against China. I don't know if he has any.
It might have even been Bush that did it because Bush was a big free trade guy.
It could be. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, but it's complicated. I feel like you're not going to sell more than you buy from a country whose shit is cheaper than yours. And you're always like quality. Like as a programmer, when I was a programmer, I competed with less expensive programmers, right? Because it's a global world. That's that. And it's like, don't you realize Americans are so much better? You should pay the extra for us. And I believed that. On the other hand, when I needed a hammer, that shit was $8 and came from China. I didn't practice what I preached. Sometimes people like cheap shit, even if it's not as good.
Yeah.
And that's where China wins.
China, you son of a bitch. You done it again. You just keep beating us with the same shit.
They're good. This, dude, all right, we're going to politics a little bit, but it's not about Trump or whatever. There's this $600 unemployment benefit that's been happening. It just ended. So here's how it works, everybody. If you get on unemployment, you get whatever your state gives you. And that varies. I think some of the worst states give you about a quarter of your income, and some of the better states give you like a half or even 2/3 of your income, right? So, but not your whole income, but a good chunk of it. And then the federal government just tossed $600 on top of that, right? Like, we're unemployed, things are tough, no one saw this coming. We're going to give you an extra $600. So there's a fair amount of people who earn more on unemployment than they did at work. And the Republicans are saying this is a disincentive for guys to go back to work. Like, who would go back to work and take a pay cut? Isn't it better to be unemployed and make more?
That is true. I just talked to a cousin of mine in Colorado who was in that exact same situation where he was like, I don't know why the hell I would go back. I'm getting $600 a week.
There are a couple people in my universe in that situation. So the Republicans are like, it is a disincentive. People aren't going back to work. Unemployment is like unnecessarily high, etc. And then you have Democrats who are just like, yeah, but it seems kind of nice. Maybe if employers had to compete with this $600, they would know that they have to, in effect, pay more, right? It's like a backdoor minimum wage increase. Like, you got to compete with this $600 now. I see both sides of it. I think I kind of line up with the Republicans, but it's complicated. I thought it was interesting.
It definitely is complicated because there are people out there who are struggling fucking real deal right now that need a lot of help. And it's a shame that there isn't a better system to parse out the people who actually need it versus the people who are taking advantage of it, which I love my cousin. I liked his friends. Some of them were absolutely taking advantage of this situation instead of trying to use it to rehabilitate and get back into working life, So that part of it is definitely real. There are people out there who are abusing it, but I get it. Like, what the fuck is the government supposed to do? Of course they should be handing out money to people. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. Do you want this country to be Amazon, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and then a bunch of Kroger-owned banners when you go to grocery shop? Do you want that to be the country? Because that's what we're headed for.
What more do I need?
What more do you need? I don't know. Once they have a totally solidified hold on our economy, I'm sure prices will stay the same and they'll be really cool about it, right? Once Kroger knows they're the sole grocery supplier of the country, once they've edged out everyone else, once Amazon knows. Do you know Amazon made $86 billion this quarter? $8 billion higher than was anticipated. There is no one happier about this than Jeff Bezos.
But that doesn't make him evil. Like that just means that he's got a good business.
My boy got to be banned from Twitch.
Dude, if you're worth $130 billion, you're fucking evil. Sorry. You're evil. You're a piece of shit.
Keep in mind, it's not like he owns the company all himself, right? He's got stockholders to worry about. He's literally not allowed to try to not make as much money as possible.
That's true.
I get it.
It's against the rules for him to not make as much money as possible.
I understand what you're saying. I'm saying that it's when people are worth that much money, it's not evil. That's the wrong phrasing. It's absolutely fucking absurd.
It wouldn't be hard for Jeff Bezos to argue that, hey, we've got great employees and these guys are so great they deserve a chunk of it, and that's good business. I think if he did that, if they made $10 billion less, what would you say, $89 billion a quarter? If it was $79 billion this quarter, probably it'd be okay to pay his people more.
Yeah, and he should pay his people more. He's the big rah-rah shish boom ba Koch brothers guy who's
I wouldn't pay him more.
Kind of more libertarian. He loves open borders. He loves just flowing immigration because Jeff Bezos takes advantage of illegal labor.
You pay what people are willing to work for, and you make as much money for your stockholders as you possibly can. That's the way it works. Now, if a monopoly develops, then the law says that the government can break that monopoly up. So in this situation where every grocery store is Kroger, then they get broken up.
Governments are reluctant to break up monopolies, and it turns out that they're right not to usually. They did it with AT&T, and it was a great thing. But usually monopolies that raise their prices tend to find competitors popping up all over the place. If Amazon starts to suck, I don't think the barrier to entry is that large that someone can't take over their audiophile market. Then someone else goes after their toy market, and someone else goes after this or that. Taylor's saying no, but I feel like I could pop up a Squarespace and
totally solidified. They own the SEO, they own the SEM, they own everything. There's a reason that they made $10 billion almost more than they were projected to this quarter. It's because
everybody's at home, dude.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said that nobody is happier with this than Jeff Bezos. He has a total market control when it comes to e-commerce. And I know this because I work in consumer products, that I see Walmart, I see all these other companies, even the huge ones like Walmart, kind of a little bit panicking because they see Amazon on the horizon. That's going to overtake them. Amazon is a fucking beast. And when what was it, a few days ago, maybe a week ago, when they have all the congressmen there to interrogate all of the tech people, and it's like, are you retarded? Zuckerberg sitting right there has more money than every congressperson combined. You think he can't decide what district he wants someone to get elected in and then do it if he wanted? And they're questioning him like they have any sort of authority? No, you are the congressman. He is the fucking multi-billionaire who can do whatever he wants. If Mark Zuckerberg decided, hey, that person questioning me, I don't like him, he could bankroll anyone else, destroy them in that district. And so it's all fucking kabuki theater. It's nonsense. When we look at these politicians questioning billionaires, it's like Jim Jordan, a Republican, who was, I'm going hard on them. Do you know who his second biggest contributor was in 2018? Google.
Yeah, so I watched that. Jim Jordan was on Tucker Carlson's show. And Jim Jordan's Mr. Going After him. What are you laughing at?
I can't say.
Oh, okay. Not related to this.
No.
Do I have a booger?
No. Someone just shared something with me for the show. And
is it tremendously insensitive? Share it.
Yes, it is tremendously insensitive.
Share it. Let me finish my thought. Anyway, Tucker Carlson roasted Jim Jordan. And he's like, hey, I see you take all this money from him. And Jim Jordan's like, yeah, but that doesn't influence me. Yeah. Have you written any bills? Did you see me up there? I was giving him a hard time. Right. Have you passed any laws? Have you done anything substantial? Yeah, but did you hear my words? I was giving him a hard time. Right. Have you done anything? You're a congressman. Well, we've got things that are moving slowly. Right. It's been years.
Good.
How long have you had this job?
For Tucker Carlson for putting his feet to the fire on that.
He kind of did, yeah. And I'm not a big Tucker Carlson fan, but that doesn't mean I can't like him ever.
I like him.
And yeah, I think he's just insincere most of the time with his manipulative words. But in this case, he was kind of nailing Jim Jordan and not letting. He just kept trying to be like, I'm the guy going hardest. And they're like, yeah, it's kabuki theater.
Yeah, it's full of trash. The same way that like Dan Crenshaw, the eye patch guy, they'll be like, oh man, he's going hard. And it's like, yeah, what's he done? What's he actually done? Oh, wait, he's just like a Democrat from 2004. No thanks.
I watched Trump today in the Oval Office. He did an hour and a fucking half with the UN Secretary General. And he said, we've got 200. He said, we got a lot of troops in Greenland already. Might send a lot more soon.
He's so funny.
To Greenland to annex it. Yes, he's worried about the Chinese and Russian flights over the Arctic.
Did you hear him today talking about how Canada would be the best state, and he would let them keep the national anthem?
Yeah, I did read that.
Oh, that's a kindness.
Well, no,
he said they could still sing it.
No,
he
go big.
Not only did he say that, I saw that article. He said they could still sing they could do that. They could keep their flag as sort of a state flag, and he would only deflower their brides for the first month of the statehood. Prima nocta.
We're bringing back prima nocta.
I mean, this all dude.
I'm gonna fuck a lot of young girls. Your girlfriend, I'm fucking her.
You gotta breathe the French out. It's the only way.
Yeah. No, but if we that's ridiculous. We let them keep their own song. What are we gonna let them keep the Queen on money? Is that what we're doing now?
Well, I mean, it would be a giant state, for God's sakes.
Way too big for one
a
state.
Bunch of them.
How big is it really?
It's huge.
Bigger
the
than the
Mercator
US.
projection messes me up.
Oh yeah, do square miles compare it to the lower 48? Like that'll tell us right away. How many square miles is the lower 48? How many square miles is Canada? And then we're solid.
We get a lot. Well, I mean, don't deprive us of Alaska. Like that's a lot.
But I can't imagine how big Alaska is either because it's so goddamn big. So including it throws any comparison I can actually do in my brain off.
Actually, let me see.
It's slightly larger according to Zach. Canada's got 3.
Slightly larger. Thanks for the specificity.
I was gonna read the fucking number.
Zach, can you show this website and drag
square
Canada
meter over here?
Canada. Can you show that website and drag Canada onto America?
No, you drag us onto Canada.
Yeah, you drag.
Either way is good.
America's a top.
You can probably do both. I don't know. You just
Look at
enter
Florida.
the word
What do you
Canada,
think that is?
and then you'll be able to drag it around.
You think that's a pseudo penis?
Nope, that's a hyena clit, idiot.
Thank you.
That's a cock. Florida is a cock, and you know it.
Cock.
I've messed around with the same site, Woody. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a little eye-opening sometimes.
It really shows like the U.S. is a fucking huge country. But then if you drag us over Russia, it's like, fuck. They're not just a little bigger.
I think you need you need a different map that shows average yearly temperature as well, or maybe that just overlays roads so that you would see that Siberia is a worthless place.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't want to hang out in Siberia.
Like you could slice off a third of Russia that no one lives there. Because you did the same for Alaska.
There's a huge part of Canada that does not have a ton of people.
Yeah, if you look at where the population is, it's within 200 miles of the border.
Yeah.
Yeah,
mostly
very few of them.
That's where the concentration is. So
I've
seen some of those maps too. No, the whole thing is interesting. I feel bad for Canadians who are caught in the middle of the nonsense. But I see numbers on both sides that upset me. So I hope that they get to the bottom of it.
Numbers are the Canadians doing that upset you? Help me understand.
Oh, I should make a goddamn.
Oh, I didn't mean to pop quiz you in front of everyone.
No. It was the cheese thing you explained well. There was a thing about dairy. But just I think there was something about about cars that didn't make any sense.
The car thing, I don't know. The dairy
something about banking too. Something about keeping our banking institutions out.
No, American banks do business in Canada.
Well, I don't.
I know that Canada protects its dairy farmers, and that's cheese, that's milk, and that's some other things too. But America subsidizes its dairy farmers. So non-subsidized farmers can't compete on price. So like they get to sell out their stuff before, and then the tariffs drop after they provide enough. It's complicated and it's nuanced. And anytime you're explaining nuance, you're losing.
The thing that's why the Trump administration is so smart. Clearly what they want is for all the deals to go their way. No, not the fentanyl. Yeah. Fentanyl's the red herring that you
Canada's fentanyl is the problem, Kyle. I've listened to it from the horse's mouth himself.
And that is
because their fentanyl is so powerful.
Because you can fucking put that on TV and you can show me a picture of it and you can show me statistics of dead Americans with that. But what you can't do is say, well, 2.5% interest over here on this import of specific kinds of aluminum. It's the high quality aluminum. You see Saskatchewan, it gets nitty gritty, economic, and boring. But if he just says they're sending poison in, they're sending killers in, and we're not going to stand for it because I'm here for America. You're like, holy shit, I'm for America too, and you're down for.
When you base your argument on easily disprovable lies, you're not winning me over. Now you might win some people over.
Well, not me. Clearly, he's got the majority though. That's all he needs. I agree.
He doesn't have the majority on this topic, and the least popular president in the history of America for the last 70 years is Trump's first term, and the second least popular is his second term.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because you have to look at Biden's start, which was actually pretty strong. I bet he would if he was younger. He seems
fairly serious about Greenland. He really does. He keeps he brought it up today to the UN Secretary General. Yeah. He's like, we might need to get NATO involved on this. And he's like, well, NATO wouldn't want to get it. That guy is a fucking diplomat. All right. He's a top 1% of 1% intelligence fucking global diplomat, UN Secretary General. As you can imagine, he would be. Oh, very diplomatic answer. Oh, well, NATO would never be involved with this and this because of its blah, 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 blah. You are completely right, Mr. President. The Arctic security is vital. And the Chinese overflies and the Russians in that area, we need to secure that region of the planet. It's vital to NATO security. It's vital to the world peace. It's like, oh man, what a great answer! You complimented him while telling him no. Like, it was perfect.
My Trump Dakota ring doesn't work for shit. I thought his 25% tariffs was just an initial high starting point. You don't negotiate yourself. If you're trying to buy a car for $5,000, you don't come in at 4, right? Well, I guess you do. I said it fucked up. Yeah. But you don't come in at 6, right? No art of the deal over here. But then it turns out he actually levies 25% tariffs. Yeah. Like he actually did it. He started a trade war with our closest ally. I could go on and on. But when Trump says something and then you sane wash it, finds out that sane washing was off target. He meant what he said oftentimes.
I do want to say on the tariff thing. I think he was hoping that there wouldn't be a trade war, that they would just buckle or they would negotiate and there would never actually be tariffs. Oh, let me ask you this, because I genuinely don't know, because the news is so goddamn bad at getting me actual news. Have any of these tariffs actually gone into place? Like, are people paying more? Are people paying the tariffs? Are they being paid?
I don't think they're paying more yet.
Yeah, I don't think anything's been implemented.
So nothing's happened yet.
It's a lot of bluster. Seemingly.
Yeah, I thought they started, and I'm fact checking myself.
I saw that Claudia Sheinbaum, the Mexican president, called him back.
It takes a little bit, even if they started. I think it takes a little bit for it to.
Yeah, but I've accounted for that. It's been months.
Dude, the most absurd thing.
Okay, I have the answer.
Oh, go ahead.
Currently, the following tariffs are in effect: 25% taxes on all steel and aluminum to Canada, and 20% on Chinese imports.
Yeah, the Chinese is going to change. Biden kept those. Those are holdovers from his first term. The car thing, we can't allow
our car market. Trump raised it from 10 to 20, the China thing. Is that what you just said?
I thought that they stayed the same. There's a couple. I was thinking of the car tariff in particular, because there's multiple tariffs, obviously. I think Trump put tariffs on the cars in his first term, and then he often touts that it was such a good idea that Biden couldn't take it away, that Biden kept it because it was clearly a good idea. And it's like, yeah, that's true.
But what about the fucking eggs?
What about the eggs?
Yeah, it's all about the eggs.
How long does it take for the new chickens to come back?
He ran on eggs.
He ran on eggs and deportations. But now his administration has been about tariffs and I guess tariffs. Am I missing anything else?
It's been about tariffs and Israel. He's making a big to-do. He's like pulling funding from universities that aren't staunchly defending Israel enough or allowing protests to happen.
Oh, come on. Remember what those were. That was like some BLM summer of the burning shit was going on. We were all upset about that. They went in there, they're all wearing masks, waving Palestinian flags, chanting from the river to the sea, and they made a castle that students, journalists, no one could progress through. No one could walk through. There was like 2 butch lesbians with mustaches saying you can't go past.
I'm not taking a side on the Israel-Palestine thing. I'm saying it's wild to have like the deportations is what got him elected. And now to have no attention, no care, just lip service towards that, and then be like all out, like, oh, we got to promote Israel, and we got to do this and that. And it's like, I get it. Miriam Adelson's your biggest donor. We get it. If it like came out that like Wayne Gretzky was gay or something, yeah, I'd have to switch my top.
No, he's MAGA. He's not gay.
The great ones.
Yeah. The great one for another 8 goals. And then Ovechkin seizes number 1.
Woody, during the UN Secretary General thing in the Oval, like, all right, first of all, like, little background for anybody who doesn't know, Gretzky did some MAGA stuff. He wore the hat and got really a ton of backlash from his core demographic, being Canadians and NHL fans, just really been eating shit and hiding from everybody. It's been kind of hard to see. Not that I care, but I don't like seeing people down like that, I guess. And
especially not Gretzky.
I'm sure he wants to separate himself from it, and he wishes he hadn't said anything, and he wants to distance himself from the whole thing. Trump in the Oval Office today with the UN Secretary General right there. It's like, and the great one, he loves me. He's up there in Canada, and he'd love to be an American if we just came in there and took it over. And and I know that Gretzky's just watching somewhere. Like, no, he's not watching, but somebody texted him, "Hey, the president's saying that you'd love it if like he took over," and he says that you love him and that you're the great one. But he said it wrong. He didn't say it the right way. He said you're like the greatest great one or something. He fumbles over.
Oh, he didn't get it right. Disrespectful.
He never heard that phrase before. It's just like when he sat into the Tesla and he goes, "It's computers everywhere." He clearly never been in one before.
He calls it Tesla.
He
clearly calls them Teslers.
That's pretty funny. That's a very old person thing to do.
Yeah, a Southern old people thing to add an R onto to words like that doesn't belong. That's interesting. I saw him say that in the make-believe ad that I sent in, but I didn't know it was real. I thought maybe they'd made him say Tesla, but I believe it. That's embarrassing.
Kyle, you don't have enough respect for Wayne Gretzky.
I'll say this: I could do a 10 times better walk around on that fucking car than Trump could. Trump can't sell a car. He's like, and it's made of steel. It's heavy and strong. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you
Did he say those words? I didn't catch that part.
I'm paraphrasing, but yeah.
This will blow over for old Gretzky. He can't be getting that much hate.
It's pretty rough. You know how Canadians are. They've only had the one hero, though. I don't know what
Wayne
to do now.
Gretzky. How could you? Dude,
what's your number 2 fallback hero if you're a Canadian?
Me, it's GSP, but that's my bubble.
That's a small bubble, and I'm in it.
I mean, probably Sidney Crosby.
Harley.
Maybe.
You know Harley? You ever see the movie Tusk? You know Harley's in that movie?
Harley's a great guy, yeah. Yeah, I've seen Tusk, and I fucking hated it.
White House wearing leather jackets, like all the CEOs and such. Mm-hmm. And he's like out there with them looking at their bikes, like in front of them. I liked that. And he's like, yeah, that's a nice bike. And he's talking about it. And they get in the boardroom or whatever. And he's like, there's just something about the sound of that Harley. And that's music to the Harley guys' ears.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there is something about the sound of a Harley, right?
There
that's
is
American
something to the
power.
Sound of a Harley.
Of course there is. They got a very, very special harmonic they're going for there. That noise is patent pending. And he brought up, Reagan putting the tariffs on the fucking back in the day to keep the Hondas and Kawasaki's from running Harley out of business, which is a great thing for him to be throwing out there right now. If you're trying to like make some conservatives and maybe some independents look at you as more of a reasonable human being.
There's a thing happening right now the motorcycle community is upset about, and I'm going to mess it up, but it's like all European motorcycles that have less than like 500 cc are getting a ridiculously high tariff, or at least that's what's on the table. But it's bundled into some larger like agriculture bill, and I don't know why like these motorcycles are impacted like they are. I wonder if I can find it quickly.
Yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. I like watching Trump do his meetings when he's got everybody in that boardroom, because there's so many people in there who are just terrified to do anything but agree. He'll ask him a question across he'll be like, "You agree with me, don't you?" And the guy's like, "Uh-huh." like, absolutely. You know what I'm talking about, right, Carl? Carl was like, "Uh-huh. Absolutely, Mr. Trump. I know exactly what you're talking about." Like nobody wants to disagree.
Here it is. So it's a tariff to exclude like different meats, guts, bladders, stomachs of animals, whole pieces and thereof, fresh, chilled, frozen, salted, in brine, dried, or smoked, and low CC motorcycles. Like I'm like, I don't know why this is happening.
That's a very niche group of things. I feel like there's one Saudi billionaire whose entire net worth is made up of nothing but brined meats and low-powered motorcycles, and they're really targeting him with this.
Yeah, right?
My brined meat and sausage empire / Kawasaki motor cartel is over.
Yeah, it only hurts European motorcycles, so like KTM, BMW, and Aprilia and whatever. And it's from 51 cc to 500 cc, like the smaller end. I've looked, I've Googled, I can't find the justification. Like
I think the only way that you're going to track down why this is you're going to have to go back to find who proposed this thing. Like whose baby is this? And it's going to be some goddamn senator who's like, there's some fucking Japanese guy with a porno of him fucking 3 kids or something. He's like, "Ooh, you make the European motorcycle cost more." Like it's something like that. And then it's got to be somebody's strings are getting pulled. Whenever you see like brined meats and motorcycles on the same bill, that's a lot of pork. That's just pork trying to get, Senator McConnelly and Senator Phillips to get on board with the same shit, because one of them's got an interest in the brined meat imports and one of them's got an interest in opposing European motorcycle imports.
Like the core of the whole thing has to do with the U.S. beef trade dispute with the European Union, and then motorcycles.
Interesting. Maybe those are big import items from Eastern Europe to the United States. I mean, they don't have a lot. Right? We always talk about what Russia has, and they mock that. They're like, "Yeah, we need machine guns or oil." It's like, what's Slovenia making anyway? I bet it's brined meats and underpowered motorcycles.
Somebody has to squat in all those tracksuits.
That meme is on the rise.
It's on the rise, and for a good reason, because it is true. Or at least it was in all of these like 90s and early 2000s pictures of Russia that I'm sure we're looking at.
And Czech Republic.
And Czech Republic, all of those Eastern Europeans.
You know what? I looked into the Netflix thing. It looks like they were able to, they found some way to flexibly determine where their income was, and all the losses are in America and all the profits are outside the country where the tax rate is lower. And that's how they avoid U.S. taxes. They actually paid millions and millions of overseas taxes, but they got a refund here.
Oh, good.
Yes. So good.
That's not parasitic at all.
The Trump tax changes that I think started 2019 kind of help with that a little bit. Like, so what it was is U.S. taxes were higher in a weird way, not necessarily higher, but you could argue they were higher. And now companies are less incentivized to pretend they were Icelandic profits instead of American profits because our tax rate's lower.
Yeah.
And
that's so skeevy.
Yeah.
No, it's good because now they pay their taxes here, even if it's a lesser amount.
Right? Well, they didn't pay their taxes.
Well,
here.
Netflix didn't, but what I'm reading about is 2018. Oh. So these are changes that, might take a little while for them to incorporate.
Hopefully they'll pay them here.
Yeah,
I hope so. Yeah. And then along with those, like having a center of business somewhere, could be jobs here too, right? They might take their Icelandic accountants and hire them in, Colorado instead or something.
They're building that steel mill in Birmingham, and the owners literally came out and said,
"Wow, Netflix really branching out."
yeah.
All right, we're gonna make 60 terrible comedy specials that nobody wants, and then get this: steel mill, Montgomery, Alabama. They're like, Steve, you got to stop doing coke. And come into the meetings.
We're taking a wire wheel to the Rust Belt. Go Netflix.
Right. The petroleum plant. I take full credit. It's not a good idea, especially not in North Dakota, where it turns out there's already a lot of those. So,
is that real? Like I've heard it. I've heard Trump claim it, and then I've heard people say it wasn't real. And I
heard CNN.
It's not a new
Fox
mill; that it's an expansion of an existing one. Maybe.
It's a big work project though. That's obviously making jobs for the construction and then jobs for the thereafter. And the owners of it, they're like, this is because of Trump. This is Trump's America. It's because of his aggressive economic maneuvering.
It could be the tariffs though. Like he has these big steel.
It is the tariffs.
So yeah, one of the things if people don't know, one of Trump's tariff strategies was to make, like, I guess I'll just say voters not notice him so much because he's tariffing things that they're like ingredients to products, not products. So it's not that cars get more expensive, but aluminum does. And the companies take the hit and not necessarily like all the voters, at least at first.
And that's that's kind of how China is with a lot of manufacturing. Well, they'll like create a lot of raw parts over there, then ship them here, and then like assembly here. And then now, like even that is getting moved to China, where they're like, or I'm sorry, not China, Mexico. Like so many of our car companies are manufactured in Mexico.
That Apex game is continuing to like become the most popular game in the world.
Not the Fortnite people, by the way. I don't know if you saw a lot of people change it, which means that my mocap friend wasn't involved also. Like I was wrong.
Not so much a Canada thing, but did you see the auto tariffs?
Yeah, 25%.
Yeah.
On who?
Everybody. Everybody.
Is this part of the reciprocal tariff thing?
No, this is just
a new one.
This is for all those people who dare to make a car and send it to
I'm fine with us tariffing people who tariff us. Like Germany tariffs us on automobiles. We tariff them the same. Like that's fair.
You tell me there's not a room for the Ford Taurus in the German Autobahn? Please. They
no, there's tons. There's tons of Ford Taurus.
If the German consumer laid their eyes on the beauty of American automobiles, I tell you, there'd be F-150s bumper to bumper up and down that Autobahn.
If you want to sell an F-150,
every
Germany,
Heinrich
it
and
has
Deere
to be made
from
in
here
Germany.
to Hamburg would have him one.
Maybe. Well, they
should have gone Heinrich
drive
and
all
Himmler,
those.
because then I got all those H's. Damn it. No,
Heinrich and
I
Himmler?
don't think that they would buy our cars. I think our cars are shit, and I think they're never going to not be shit until we stop with the tariffs. The only cars here that aren't shit are like the luxury brands where they actually spend some money on R&D. Like if you look at the horsepower output, like of our engines, like just do horsepower and displacement ratio versus everybody else. It's humiliating. It's humiliating. Like the way the Japanese get all that horsepower out of those tiny little engines, and then we balk about fuel.
Sure, but how reliable can a high-powered small motor be from Japan?
Well, they got two. That's got dual overhead cams. Something's going to break down in them Hondas, I promise you. 50 years later.
Is Honda Japanese or Korean?
Yeah, Japanese. I thought Honda was Japanese. Honda.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Street Fighter character from Japan. You should know this.
Hyundai. No, that's Korean.
Yeah. I don't put as much faith in the Koreans, but yeah, most of our cars are crap. I really do think that.
I don't think our trucks are crap, but I almost think they might fall in that. Well, like if you're Ford and you've got the number one selling vehicle in America, I think that's still true.
They are. It is.
That's probably one where you put a lot of time and effort into, and you let your Pintos, suffer. They still make.
I don't know. What does it do though? What does it even do? Like nobody uses those as trucks. I don't know if you.
What does it do? It does everything. They're hybrid now. The alternators are so powerful. They run your camper trailer often because it's a built-in generator. A generator, right? Everyone's had AC in their car for some time now, but you plug an angle grinder into it and you realize all it can do is charge a laptop. Not so on a Ford truck. That shit has 220 output that runs your RV that you're towing around at this point.
220?
Yeah.
You can have a hot tub.
You charge a Tesla with your F-150.
That's sick. I didn't know. So yours has that, Woody?
No, this is the hybrid ones. They're a little newer than mine. And because you can imagine how a hybrid truck would have a really powerful alternator beyond that you'd see, in a regular car. And I don't know, they're just dope as fuck. They've got lane centering, which is fucking a heartbeat from self-driving. And
I'm just talking about like the quality of the ingredients.
I like the tailgate wars. I'm sure you're probably on top of the tailgates back when my day just folded down, right? And then Ford puts a step into the tailgate. And when I first saw the step, I thought, dude, I'm far too athletic for a step on a tailgate. I don't need that shit. I could leap into this. And then you realize that a full-size truck comes up to your nipples darn near, and a step is terrific. And if you're like moving and you're going in and out of the truck a lot, that step is genius. So Chevy sees the step and they're like, you call that a tailgate? Now that thing's got fucking fold down tech. It's a freaking erector set that does 3 different things. Honda's got them swinging out sideways, flipping down normal, like anything you want. And I'm like, shit, tailgates all of a sudden became this like piece of engineering tech that's pretty dope.
This is a good idea. I'm just now looking at pictures of this. Every once in a while you see something where you're like, I'm looking at the F-150 step.
That's the lamest. It was the first and it's been surpassed.
But I mean, like, this is one of those things where if you saw it, you'd think like, oh yeah, this has probably been around for ages. It's so common sense. It's so like, clearly this helps.
Right?
I guess
it's well built too. So I hover around 200 pounds most of my adult life. I will jump on that thing and stomp on it or whatever, like on the way down without thinking twice. It will not break from a human. So that's this is nice. So mine is like the bottom left, which I'd argue is kind of the lamest one. I think the Honda is the bottom right that can swing out sideways or fold down. And then the top left, I think, is GM, and it has a step like that. It can also fold flat out, and then it could do a handful of different things. I couldn't even demonstrate that. It's complicated enough. And the one on the right, I don't know. Is that
Dodge?
Ram? Is that Dodge?
Yeah, Dodge Ram.
I don't know what other tricks. I bet you it folds down like a normal bed tailgate as well as that. And I don't know about us. Oh, I see. The steps kind of come. They're individual and not built into the tailgate.
I only see one step.
I think you're right. What is on the other side? Is that a shadow? Okay. I don't know that I love their step as much.
Yeah. The Honda one looks like it barely even has a step. They just kind of have a plate underneath the license plate.
Where
you can step on
one thing that Chevy does, which is top left that I like, is the bumper has a step built into it. So if you don't want to go into the effort of like unfolding the step, then you can just stick your foot right there. It's always available. And I bet you in practice that get used a lot. Every now and then I use my tire as a step because I'm not going through the effort of making it, Anyway, we were just talking about innovation in American cars. Well, there's a thing that they're doing right, I would argue.
That is pretty cool. We are the best at trucks, for sure.
I think so.
What trucks are better than American trucks?
I don't know. Those little Chinese $3,500 trucks that you can order in a crate that just run forever and do what trucks do but don't look nice. Our trucks do a great job of looking nice and being trucks and being able to go pick up groceries with your grandma as well as go off-roading.
Dude,
I don't think that reliability
is
the strong suit of the American truck.
No, like tons of people use their F-150s for manual labor and farming.
I'm not saying they don't,
like,
but I think that most of them, the majority of them, don't do anything of the sort.
I think that's fair. They're popular for reasons outside of work, but in my little world, they're popular for play. Like when I load a dirt bike into it, then I show up and everyone's loading dirt bikes in their trucks. You might see them doing things other than that, but it's like,
what about the Toyota?
You got to see them on Saturday afternoons, when they're doing that.
The Tundra. The Tundra. The Tundra is the big one. I don't know if they still make the Tacoma, but if they do, it's more their mid-sized truck. Like I don't even know if Dodge makes the Dakota anymore, but that used to be also that mid-sized truck, bigger than a Ranger or the S10, but definitely not the full-sized Silverado or Ram.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Tundra looks exactly like a Ram or an F-150 for the most part. It looks
when I was shopping, the Tundra was behind on tech. Their fuel economy was way worse. They didn't have CarPlay yet.
Toyota was behind.
Toyota's behind on tech. American companies lead on tech, and if you're a tech shopper like me, that matters. But they kind of do lead on reliability. They're the conservative, non-risk taking automotive manufacturer.
Do you think that's still true on the fuel economy?
On the Tundra, I don't know. Obviously, in cars, they do really well, but they sort of the internet said their engines ran rich to get more reliability out of them, and that's why their fuel economy was bad. And I read it on the internet, so it's true.
Counter that.
I know I often see the Europeans touting those flatbed, like weird cab trucks that they have that do everything that our $100,000 F-150s do forever, and they do it for $15,000 or something like that. I don't know. Whenever
they definitely can't do everything larger trucks can do. If we're thinking of the same thing, like they're small trucks meant for driving through alleyways that were built in 1100 where nothing else can fit.
I'm the guy that the trucks Kyle dislikes fit. Like, look at this platinum street truck, right? Kyle, you don't understand how important it is that my seat massages me on the way home from dirt biking. I'm basically handicapped after 4 hours in the woods.
Yes.
No, I mean they should have all that. Look, I like all the accoutrements too. I think they should have those things. I just don't know about the American car industry. It just seems like the F-150 is a hard one to argue against because of everything you said. And it is, I think it's the most popular car in America. I don't think it's the number one truck. It might be the number one vehicle in America. It's incredibly popular.
It could be. I'm not positive.
But what's their sedan?
Oh,
the Ford?
What's it even called?
It's a Taurus. Say Ford ended every car but one a few years ago. Did they bring much back? Maybe it was just the Mustang that survived.
They even
they still have the Taurus, right? Or no, it was the Fusion for a bit, and then I thought it was. I remember because in 2013 I remember the Fusion and the Taurus were still there, and the Fusion was the smaller version of the Taurus.
Fusion's gone. The 500 was there for a while. I think the 500 might be gone too. I don't know what their car is anymore. I don't know what they make aside from SUVs and Mustangs, obviously, and EV Mustangs. But I think that might be their only car.
Right.
I'm looking. The Mustang is the only thing that is strictly a car. Everything else is what they call SUVs nowadays, which I call hatchbacks.
They've retreated from the market. Like that.
Yes,
that's your
I think
sign,
that's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they couldn't compete for some reason. For some reason, the OG innovator of the family vehicle doesn't make one anymore. And I don't think it's a sign that 4-door cars are out, because I seen plenty of those on the roads. But Ford can't make one. And I don't know what Chevrolet's is either.
Malibu.
Is it? What's
I don't even know what
like?
a 25 Malibu looks like.
Yeah,
I don't
they
either.
do such a bad job at marketing, and they do such a bad job at marketing. I've never heard of it and don't know what it looks like. And they do such a bad job at design that I also have never heard of it or seen it. If it looked cool, somebody tell me.
Yeah,
those new Dodges look cool. The new Dodge did something. I'm not exactly sure. I think they consolidated the Charger and the Challenger, and they're just doing one now.
I always thought they overlapped.
The markets definitely did, and they thought so as well. I think they're doing an electric version of that looks pretty nifty.
I feel like the Charger was always. I mean, the Charger was the cheaper one, so it makes sense. I saw that more
on the tariffs. I think only one car company stock went up, and it was Tesla. And it's like,
I saw Tesla had a huge rebound, didn't they?
Yeah, well, every other car is about to get $12,000 more expensive, but Tesla, they have parts that come from outside America, but there's the tariffs a little more complicated than they say on the surface, and like parts that they're giving time to find local suppliers. So Tesla's almost immune from the tariffs, but almost nobody else is.
Okay.
Why do
even Ford and
only
Chevy
use domestic suppliers? Is that part of Tesla? Or
the foreign suppliers they use are exempt for reasons that start to get complicated. Like they have time before they are no longer exempt.
Okay.
Well, good for them. He needed a little bit of a rebound. I don't know if you watch SNL, but they got Mike Myers doing him, and he's great.
They're up 51% year over year right now. So what the fuck were they up at that bananas total in December? like up 150%.
There was a big bump when Trump won. There was this idea that his association with Trump would be very good for his cars, like the government would help them in some way. But I think it kind of went the other way for a while, that his reputation sank amongst EV buyers because of his association with Trump. And now Trump's tariffed all his competitors, and Tesla's the only stock that went up.
Good sign for Democrats nationwide and in every other kind of way. But I was thinking more I think Congress, or not the Senate, but the House voted down the tariffs against Canada, maybe. And they were like, good, they're voted down. It's like, well, now it goes to the Senate, and then it goes to the president. I wonder what he thinks about it. Oh, are you going to get 2/3 majority against this? No? Well, let's see if Donald Trump wants to.
They sent a message, Kyle.
He's watching Fox News. He ain't getting that message. You think he's on C-SPAN?
I'm teasing. I don't think anyone's getting that message.
He said he watches 8 hours of TV a day and drinks 12 Diet Cokes a day.
I believe
that's
him.
A hero. That's a hero.
First time he's told the truth.
That's like that is the most boomer lifestyle I can imagine. Is like cable news, just constant propaganda slop from cable, and then just enough aspartame to kill a horse. Although that's an impossible number because there's nothing wrong with it at all.
I don't like the lies. Like even lying me into a good decision, I still feel bad about it. Heck, the fucking yesterday, right? He goes up there with the chart, says these are the tariffs they're putting on us. These are the reciprocal tariffs we're putting on them. All the tariffs on us are lies. None of that was true. Every fucking number in that column was untrue. Not a single one was accurate. And I'm like, why are you lying us into trade wars? Is this fucking Trump W? Like, you're just lying us into a trade war? Fucking cunt.
So he exaggerated how much we were being tariffed.
What he did.
I screenshotted it so I would have it exactly if I may. This guy says I just figured out where these fake tariff rates came from. They didn't actually calculate tariff rates plus non-tariff barriers as they said they did. Instead, for each country, they just took our trade deficit with that country and divided it by the country's exports to us. So we have 17.9 billion trade deficit with Indonesia. Its exports to us are 28 billion. So 17.9 billion divided by $28 equals 64%. Which Trump claims is the tariff rate Indonesia charges us. What extraordinary nonsense this
That's my kind of math. You just nice and easy.
I don't like being lied to. And it shocks to me how like these MAGA guys are on their knees in front of Trump with their tongue out saying, lie to me, daddy, lie to me, daddy. I'll slurp it down. I'm like, why do you like being lied to so much? He thinks you're a fucking lie. Slurping them out of his cock. Like, why do you think this is so ridiculous?
You gotta sell that t-shirt.
Give me all your dishonest commies.
He thinks you're fucking lying. And he drops it on your tongue, your waiting tongue, as you lit it there with your red hat on.
Damn,
I don't know why people like it so much. And like Kyle said, Vietnam, he said the tariff rate was 90%. And I was like, damn, 90%? That's a big tariff. Not true. It just turns out we buy a bunch of textiles from Vietnam and they don't buy much from us because they're poor. And
because they can't afford it.
Because they can't afford fucking American routers or cars or Teslas or whatever they're making. So he's like, well, 90% of the trade imbalance is 90, it's 9-1. So we're gonna put half that, 45% in tariffs. And it's like he lied us into a trade war. And the MAGA, they're just on their knees slurping it down. And I don't know why so many people are so happy to be lied to.
Are you hopeful that it will return manufacturing and production and jobs?
Way. And I'll tell you why. It's because if you're an investor, right? If you put your investor hat on, then you need stability to make this decision. If you're like, you know what? I think that we can replace the humans in textile manufacturing, clothing, and do this with robots and make price competitive t-shirts with Vietnam now that they have a 45% tariff on them. No way would you build that facility. Donald Trump changes what the tariff rates are literally hour by hour. His rationale for what the tariffs are, Canada especially, changes literally hour by hour. I have heard him say it's fentanyl many times. I've heard him say that it's their tariffs many times. I've heard them say it's their food safety standards is the reason that he's tariffing them. I've heard him say that there's like immigrants. He makes up shit all the time. Would you invest $500 million in a textile manufacturing plant hoping that this stuff is permanent and trustworthy and that you can use it in your business plans?
No,
well,
that makes sense.
That's what's important.
Then you're not bringing manufacturing back here.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
That's
And
not the goal either.
I agree with you on the that's kind of what's causing the stock market fluctuation is like the instability, the uncertainty is like, if he just would have said 10% across the board to keep it like easy numbers, there wouldn't have been as much uncertainty and fluctuation. It is, and I do dislike this, the like fly by night changes all the time because you can't make accurate decisions based on that. What it should be is just like a set number that's baked into the cake of our economy. Like this is what it is moving forward. And this way people can make accurate assessments based on what it is. And the goal of tariffs is to bring back more production and manufacturing. And so if it was a set number, it would be more likely to do that. Kyle, you are muted.
He wants to renegotiate the tariffs that they have on our goods. That's what this is about. He doesn't expect this to be the new norm because it won't work. It just won't work. It's just clearly to put those countries in a hard spot that we can afford to be in, but they cannot. And it's to say to them, do you want to completely remap your economy? Because we're fine without you, Indonesia, but you won't be fine without us. So give us a good deal. And that'll be the new deal going forward. I think that's what's happening. Whether it'll work or not, I don't know. But the hope would be, as far as bringing in manufacturing back, is that maybe after negotiations have happened and they've agreed to something, then maybe they would. But I don't think that textiles is in America's future. I don't think that we're going to be the big textile maker of the 21st century. Everything's robots now. I saw a robot that roofs houses the other day.
Do they do robots for clothes? I talked to my mom about this, who's a subject matter expert on sewing, but not robots, and said that something about fabric is particularly hard to get right. You kind of need humans to hold it together. But I don't know. Maybe she's out of date.
I would be like shocked
if do it.
I would think shirts there's not even a human hand laid on like in the process. If I would guess it depends on what kind of shirt, but I'm just thinking like a plain white t-shirt, like a Hanes t-shirt. I bet there ain't no people in there doing anything if it's made in the Western world.
Oh, I was like, I really thought it was the cheap labor that was the whole foundation of the textile
I bet.
industry.
I bet there's probably some poor fucking Indonesian kid working a giant auto loom or something, some machinery that'll suck.
Labor laws are a big reason we can't compete in a lot of. And this isn't me saying we need to get rid of labor laws. It's good that we don't let fucking 11-year-olds into coal mines, but like.
You're 11-year-olds
we can.
Taylor.
They yearn for the mines. The children, there's just no way to be like, hey, we're going to make American steel. Oh, we can't really do that because China has a bunch of people with like Saw 4 style explosive collars on them who get blown up if they don't, fill their mine cart with enough stuff by the end of the day. And so in that situation, you need to tariff it.
Do you know why? Recovering steel from World War II battleships has become so popular and cost effective as far as getting that
new steel.
Do you know why they want that old steel?
Is it like a Roman concrete thing where like now we're not doing it as good?
It's not a Roman concrete thing where now we're not able to. It's not that.
Okay. Is it something? So the steel is not better than what we have now?
Tell us.
It has a feature that is better. So before World War II, before the nuclear testing that happened for decades thereafter, all the steel now is radioactive. So if you need to make a piece of machinery that tests for, say, radioactivity, and all the metal that you have to work with to create it is a little radioactive, it's a problem, especially if you're trying to measure some minute amount of radioactivity for some sort of sciencey shit. So they get that World War II battleship steel up, and it doesn't have any radiation in it because it was made before there was any any nuclear weapons.
How many ships could there possibly be?
Tons. The Chinese are getting in a lot of trouble because they're stealing other people's ships. and they're full of dead bodies. So they'll go down and they'll get like some Australian battleship. Yeah, they'll go down and like salvage.
And then they're selling them at wet markets. The bottles.
Fucking pickled Australian livers.
Yeah.
Oh, you make your cock so hard.
Don't you tell us to stop. We've been doing this for thousands of years.
No, I don't think so.
You make you masculine, like American GI in World War II.
I did real quick before that. I did want to say that it was on the tariff thing. It's crazy because Japan, South Korea, and China are jointly responding to the U.S. tariffs together, and it's like, damn, it's crazy. You united Asia.
Yeah,
and like
China,
that's how
Japan and Korea,
and South Korea.
These places are not friends.
No, they're not. And so like it's funny because like Trump, I feel like is the type of guy to be like, yeah, I brought them together, part of the plan.
Part of the plan.
I did that.
I've been saying that for a while. I don't believe it. Okay, I don't believe it. But a genius, a genius from the comic books, like an Ozymandias, this is the sort of move that he makes to like drive the disjointed planet together. You know, you need something for everybody to hate.
Is this Watchmen?
Yeah, spaghetti monster. You need a spaghetti monster.
You need a spaghetti monster for everybody to hate. And then all of a sudden the communists and the capitalists, the Jews and the Arabs, they can all get along if we're dealing with this other existential threat. And so he just became
lasting. Yeah.
So perhaps he's becoming the existential threat. Well, you know, a little piece is good.
I
don't know what's going to happen. It's awful scary. But it's also fun to watch. You know, the news used to be boring. You always knew.
I think it's pretty cool to lose about $30,000 to $90,000 a day. I'm enjoying it.
Oh, sorry about that. I forgot the $2 trillion loss of yesterday.
It's
hits
been a
everybody
blast.
differently. Well, that's coming back.
That'll come back.
There was this guy.
That war with Iran will rocket us back up.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's going to make
that'll make things all better.
Look, I don't know anything, but oil's about to get expensive. I promise you, oil's about to get real expensive.
How did we go from I can make this better on day one to grit your teeth, this is gonna hurt? I'm telling you. He's like, bend over, this is gonna hurt a little bit, America. Like, that's what you voted for? Okay.
I always thought it was gonna be that, because what he was saying was like, we can hold out longer. He's like, I'm gonna hold my breath. And because if I don't breathe, you can't breathe. And we're just hoping we can hold our breath longer because we can.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about the tariff thing. I think most countries are going to fold pretty quickly.
Because we can thing is interesting. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, that Russia is willing to tolerate an incredible amount of discomfort in the name of like national unity. I don't think America is. I don't know a country that tolerates less discomfort than America.
There's only one group of people who goes out in the street, starts fires, and starts burning down neighborhoods when they're socially unhappy. And those people don't mind what's happening right now. You go to black people Twitter and they're like, me right now. And they're just like dancing. Like they've decided that this not my problem. Not my problem. This is y'all's shit. That's what black people decided about this. So they ain't gonna burn nothing down. And we don't burn stuff down. I've never burned anything down. I didn't see any fires even on January 6th. If you think about it, you know, no fires.
That's true.
I mean, if you limit it to fire, they did. You know, the Capitol fell, but
no gunshot.
But you know, there were no fires, so that's